misunderstood, underestimated, the black sheep, mistreated, trying this, trying that, self-conscious, the scapegoat, belittled, guilty until proven innocent, manipulated, wondering which direction to go. Let's start from the beginning. I was born in 1999 in Bountiful, Utah. I was born with the name Alexa Tia Marie Rogers. My dad always called me Princess Tia Thermopolis, and my mom always called me Princess Girl. I loved princesses. Cinderella was always my favorite princess, and I had this Cinderella Disney dress that I would wear almost every day, at least since age 2, and she was always my favorite princess. My name was always very special, very significant, because I was named after a very close family friend on my dad's side named 𝐾𝐥𝐥 𝐏𝐥𝐚𝐭𝐟𝐨𝐫𝐦, and she was a close friend of my grandmother's and my grandfather. They lived in Samoa where my grandfather worked. She was somebody that helped watch their children while they were staying there, and they helped her get to church because she didn't have a means of transportation. It was something that worked out for all of them. Ever since then, she was a huge part of our lives because they ended up bringing her back to the US once they came home. They were there for about 7 years. She stayed the remainder of her life and sadly passed away. She was who I was named after, and I always knew my name was special, and as soon as I knew who she was, I felt so proud of my name and felt so special because of her and wanted to know everything about her, and unfortunately didn't get to spend as much time with her as I would have liked. I did have the opportunity of sitting down with her as an adult, then learned that her full name was Fongatia. I didn't know that. And I learned where her name came from, and she told me her story. Being when she grew up in Samoa, people gave their children names of places that they grew up near, places around their home. And she was named after a farm named Fongatia. I believe it was a plantation of some sort, and it was near where she grew up, and that's where she got her name from. I was born and raised in the LDS church. That was all I ever knew. We went to church every Sunday, and I lived in a bubble and didn't know anything different. Over the years, at around age 4, I fell in love with Phantom of the Opera, the film. That was around the time that it came out. I loved Christine and the music and her singing and her voice. Learned all the words and would watch it all the time, and I sang Angel of Music, and I think that was my favorite one because I would always put on these little shows where me and my brother would jump on the trampoline and I would sing Phantom of the Opera with him. And ever since then, always loved to sing. Something that was just like a part of me, piano, and I played the piano for almost 6 years, and I was always an artist and making sculptures with random objects around the house. As age 3, I think that was the age I got my first art easel. Create, draw, paint, anything and all forms of art. It's always been the core of who I am, and that was always my favorite class. I was always closest to my baby brother, and him and I had the best childhood together. We did everything together. He sang parts of Phantom of the Opera with me. We played together. We played Legos together. He taught me how to roller skate. We were always the closest. My family had a huge role in how I developed at a young age, how I felt about myself, how I operated out in the outside world. For a long time, as the middle child of 6, I felt overlooked. I felt like I was annoying everybody. I felt like I didn't fit in. I felt like I was a inconvenience to my mom, to my sister, and started butting heads with one of my older brothers. And for a while, I wanted to be like my older sister. I would copy her, to dress like her. I wanted to look like her, act like her. Being a middle child and wanting to get as much attention as I could when I could, and having grown up in the LDS church and having such strict expectations, oftentimes I felt like I needed to lie to make my parents happy. I felt like I needed to become someone that I wasn't to fulfill their expectations of what they wanted from me. With my sister, I was only ever a nuisance. I wanted to hang out with her. I wanted to be just like her because she was a teenager and I was just annoying to her. I felt it in my core. I never got the relationship with her that I wanted growing up. I felt the need to water myself down and not ask for so much because my needs weren't being fulfilled, and I felt like I was such a burden, not feeling like I could do anything right. As they say, it's your responsibility to heal. It wasn't anybody's conscious choice to put you through any sort of trauma or create a certain environment for you. Your parents oftentimes do their best. A lot of the time, I thought there was something wrong with me. I thought that I was annoying to everyone around me, and I watered myself down. I became shy and timid and tried to seclude myself from everybody else because I'm a burden to them. I'm annoying to her. Made those assumptions about the outside world as well. Slowly became very self-conscious. I was compared to my older sister a lot, called a copycat, or called, like I was just always compared to her. I have 3 brothers and 2 sisters, and my little sister was born. My older sister hopped right over me and onto my baby sister, forgot all about me, and just became obsessed with her and admitted to being the best sister that she could be to her, showing up for her any chance she got, being a good example to her, and being everything I wanted her to be for me to her. Whether or not this was conscious, this is what fucking happened, and it did affect me. I'm not going to pretend like it didn't. I'm not going to sit here and say like, oh, it's my fault because of my brain and because I decided to make those assumptions about everybody, or the bullshit I've been fed. Like, I don't blame anyone. I think everybody should take more responsibility for themselves, but it took me a long time to stop begging other people to see me for who I really am, trying so hard to get their attention, trying so hard to make them proud of me, trying so hard to get my older sister to want to spend time with me. I was always the instigator. That situation, and with my friendships, relationships, to where this year realizing my self-worth made me really come to terms with the fact that I was always supposed to choose myself and go through those hard experiences so that one day I would become rock solid and be able to choose myself fully and give myself everything that I always wanted to be given by everybody else. I needed to learn how to do that on my own, and this was all a part of that process, even though it was hard. But it is all something that I've learned, and that was a part of it. I was bullied a lot. Members of my family, one of my older brothers was the biggest bully to me as I got into high school and started being more experimental and exploring how I wanted to look, dressing, makeup, and I was constantly called a slut, priss, told that everyone at school thinks you're a slut. This person told me, this is my own family. I started smoking weed at age 15 and before anyone in my family ever tried it. Only a few of them have, but one time I remember my older sister asked to borrow my pen that I had, and this was years after I had first tried smoking for the first time. I definitely knew my shit and what I was talking about. And a lot of times people have everyone has a different experience when it comes to cannabis. And at that time, she had a bad reaction to it and had an anxiety attack, like a lot of people do. Instead of telling me about it, she calls my brother, and he rushes over and starts pressing me and interrogating me and asking me what the fuck I gave her and telling me that he's certain that it was laced. And then my parents show up, they steal everything I had on me, take my sister to the fucking hospital, and they tell her there that it's a fucking anxiety attack and you're fine. This is the type of shit I went through. Like, I was always the scapegoat. I was always blamed for everything. I would be the one to move out and stay in relationships for longer than I should have, just to get away from my own family, just to get away from my situation with my mom and the way that I was being treated for so long, the way that I was looked at, the assumptions that were made about me. At the age 6 or 7, we moved down south to southern Utah, come down here for my dad's work, And once we made it down here, lived in a rental house. We lived with family while we were building, and then moved into our family home once it was finished. And I finished my elementary school years here. Around the time I reached high school, it started getting very difficult for me to focus in class. I would hardly ever show up when it came to high school. I was always ditching and hiding in the library or the greenhouse, the art room. Just didn't ever feel like I fit in. Once it came to high school, I was being experimental with my fashion, my style, my makeup, my hair, learning how to express myself, and I was always ridiculed and judged and bullied for it. And so many people make these assumptions about me because I was quiet and shy and kind of the weird kid, anxious, the weird art kid. Ended up having to remove Alexa from my birth certificate because it got mixed up in the school records, and it was kind of just a last minute thing that they threw on my birth certificate when I was born because they hadn't for sure decided which name to go with yet. But as soon as I was born, that was all I was ever called, and Tia was always what felt right and what had the most meaning and what was special. So eventually, once I reached high school, we took that off of my birth certificate. I just hated it. I hated high school and treated unfairly. I was labeled and rumors were made about me and just very disrespectful. Everybody, my one outlet was my mural. I turned my bedroom wall into a huge canvas. It was my escape every day after school. I was creating something out of nothing. I was drawing, painting, listening to music. My brother heavily inspired a lot of the music that I got into at age 16. I was heavily into 30 Seconds to Mars. He was very much influential in my musical taste. And at age 16, after I finished sophomore year, I found a school that allowed me to graduate early, and I finished before I turned 17. So in 2015, I graduated with my diploma at the age 16 and got myself out of regular high school, and I was so happy to be done. I started wanting to maybe getting into songwriting, but I always talked myself out of it because I didn't want to do it alone. I didn't really take anything like that seriously, especially using my singing voice because it was so vulnerable and such a soft part of me that because I was bullied and insecure for so many years, I never considered that as an option. But I've had that feeling since forever, and I just fought the idea of being seen and being perceived and being looked at and being judged, and I just didn't have that confidence that I knew that I needed. And so I really watered myself down for a lot of years and considered a lot of different options. I actually used to tag, and I would go and buy spray paint cans and go tag random places. There was one place that I used to tag. It was a storm drain way out behind my house where I used to go four-wheeling. And there were these storm drains I found, and I'd go out there on the four-wheeler with a couple of spray paint cans and insert picture here. And funny story, this specific time I was wearing platform heels while doing this, and I had one of my feet against the wall because it's like a narrow little storm drain, and one of my other foot was on the step that you step down, and one of my foot was on the step and the other foot against the wall while I'm spray painting, and I fell. My foot against the wall slipped and I fell to the bottom, and I remember I passed out. Then I came to and I was fine. I climbed back up. My friend was actually up top waiting for me. It was pretty crazy. So that was that time. And then another time I went out with some friends. We were out in the hills, and there was this little abandoned building. And I tagged that with my alias name. My alias was Good Vibes Girl. I used to go by Good Vibes Girl a lot on social media and stuff, so I used to do that. Not at all condoning this. I began working and hanging out with people that I met from work. I got into relationships. As I was in these relationships and working and not doing anything largely productive with my life, I didn't know the exact direction I wanted to go in. I wasn't very confident. I tried alcohol for the first time at age 17, got in trouble with the law a lot of times. Really the rebel child of my family. I was the first child to rebel out of all 6 kids in our family. A pretty big disappointment during those times to my parents. I remember after that, I told my parents that I could not go to church anymore. I refused, and that was when I stopped going to the LDS church, and I mean up until that point could barely sit through the sacrament meeting. It just didn't feel right to me. A lot of the things that I was learning as I was growing up and as I was spending time with my peers and in school and learning things about the world outside of the bubble that I grew up in. And around that same age, I started exploring my sexuality and learning about sexuality and learning about same-sex marriages and all kinds of things that I was never taught about growing up or I never knew anything about. But around that age also, I looked back on my childhood and realized there were a lot of friendships with girls that I had that were a little questionable, where as I was learning about sexuality, I was like, oh, I think I like girls. Researched more forms of sexuality and came to terms with being queer. And that is what I have settled on. That is what I feel most comfortable with identifying as. In those years of my relationships with men, I a lot of times would numb myself, self-medicate, and I got myself into some pretty dangerous environments and situations and tried things that I never should have, and I almost died in one of those times. And really that was eye-opening for me and made me cut everyone out of the circle I had at the time, isolate myself, and that is when I met my sperm donor. Soon after, changed the life that I was living prior. I met someone new, and the first person that I met got me pregnant. Right after I had left, I began dating and looking for someone new. Met somebody that I really connected with, and we had the most amazing first date. Probably the best first date I've ever had with anybody. It was just like out of a movie, like a picnic by a pond, and the most extravagant picnic and date that I've ever been on. And it was just with the most beautiful woman inside and out. We had such a strong connection and ended up staying the night with her, and it just was such a beautiful connection. And around that same time was when I found out that something was going on with my body and took a pregnancy test, and it came back positive. And I knew instantly that it was from that guy that I had that summer fling with that left. And I was like, oh my God, like I'm seeing this woman that I'm so attracted to and feel so connected to, and now this is happening. And looking back, in a way, it was almost like she was who I got pregnant with, because she was who I was so connected to, and she was who I was seeing at the time. And this woman was who I was falling for, and it was so confusing at the time. She was so understanding, and I was so quick to push her away and thought that I owed my sperm donor a chance because of the child that was inside of me, and because of the way that I was conditioned growing up, and what are my parents going to think. And at the time, my parents were still religious, so there was a lot to that I had to unpack mentally. I pushed her away many different times and really like regret it and jeopardized that connection in a lot of ways. We even talked about how, like, kind of jokingly would say that she got me pregnant and that, like, we had this baby together, because truly that's what it felt like. That's who I was seeing at the time. That's who I had such a strong, true connection with at the time that I found out that news, and way stronger of a connection than I had with the sperm donor. And over time with the sperm donor, him never ending up wanting to be in the picture or showing up in any way, I decided to not put him on the birth certificate when my child was born. We agreed that I wouldn't ask for anything as long as he stayed out of the picture, and that was our settlement. And so even though that was kind of a process for a while, like, in the back of my mind, this woman was the love of my life. After realizing that I need to isolate myself and just rethink my whole life and outside of partnership, all of that was happening at the beginning of this year, like, I had to go through all of that alone and realize and reroute and rebrand myself, recreate my identity as 𝐾𝐥𝐥 𝐏𝐿, figure out what I wanted my life to look like, because for my son, I needed to be able to provide for just my son and myself, but wanted to be able to provide for the woman that I end up with, because that was something that I had to figure out, and it took a really long time to do that. And I think my mental health and the journey of finding the right medications for me and therapy and everything also had a big play in, like, healing and learning where I went wrong in so many ways, like pushing people away and where that was coming from, and, you know, society's expectations, my family expectations, the way that I was conditioned to believe how things are supposed to go. And in a way, I thought that I couldn't be with a woman. I'm pregnant with a man's child, so it felt like I ruined our connection. I ruined the relationship by getting pregnant. Didn't know how to handle my emotions a lot, but also because of all the trauma that I had gone through that I hadn't addressed, I projected that onto a lot of people around me, and I would create chaos in situations where there wasn't any in some scenarios, because that's what I was so used to and that's what my nervous system was used to. And that, again, was something I had to address this year. And being alone in such a safe environment and, like, being secluded and protective of my energy and more aware of it, I learned to relax and calm my body and nervous system and reset my nervous system. And there's just been a lot of good things that have happened this year, a lot of things that God was pushing me to learn and figure out. And my album that's coming out next year is called Deserted. Anyways, it's one of a kind, and like all of my other songs, they have such deep meanings, and I'm really excited to bring them out into the world and let everybody hear them. I'm excited to see where the road takes us and make all of my dreams happen and create a life I can be proud of. My pregnancy, in a lot of ways, didn't just change the trajectory of my life, but everything about myself. It made me look at myself in a whole new light, gave me the confidence that I never had before, and took away a lot of the insecurities that I was struggling with for so long, feeling so powerful, falling in love with my natural features because of the baby that I was creating inside of me, thinking of my baby first and rerouting my life to be one that would work for and with my new lifestyle. During my pregnancy, because I was going through it alone, decided to think of names. I knew I wanted the name to start with the letter T, give him my last name, and I found out that it was a boy. It helped narrow things down, and I decided on the name Tiger. Tigers have largely been a part of my life since I was very young. I've always loved them, and they were always my favorite animal. One of my sisters lived in another country for a while and spoke Danish. I remember learning that my name, Tia, was how you pronounce the word tiger in Danish. And even before I knew it was a boy, I really considered that name. But as soon as it was a boy, I knew that was going to be his name, going to be a way of naming him after me and him being an extension of me. It was just the perfect name. So my son's name is Tiger, and After I had my son Tiger, I gave him the middle name 𝐀𝐥𝐥 𝐏𝐥𝐚𝐭𝐟𝐨𝐫 after her, because how special her name was to me and how special for me to carry on her legacy through my son. I wanted him to have a piece of her too, and so his middle name was her last name. And I was so happy to hear the story behind her name and be able to sit down with her and have a beautiful Samoan feast with my son and her and my mother and her husband Fono. Such a blessing to have that experience with her. Even though my son won't remember it, I do have pictures of us all, and sadly she died from cancer. Being the middle child of 6 kids and the black sheep, I just didn't really feel secure for a very long time. I just didn't, and I oftentimes would jump into relationship after relationship thinking that I needed somebody else to feel secure, because I had never stood on my own 2 feet or looked inward and realized what it is that I want, what it is that I want to do, because I never thought that that would be good enough. And for so long, I was conditioned to operate that way in so many different ways. I actually graduated from a technical college where I received a diploma, became a certified graphic designer. This was the day of my graduation, and I was so proud of myself. It was a program that I had started back when I was 18 and I never finished it. I went back and finished it in full and learned so much. Now I have so many tools in my belt and know so much about graphic design, and it's just something really cool and useful to have, especially now with my pursuit on social media. So I can pretty much do anything and everything now, and I'm so glad that I did that. I really enjoyed it. The oldest in my family, my older brother 𝐾𝐥𝐥, he is another one of my heroes, another one of my role models in life, and someone that helped me over the years, especially since my teenage years, and introducing me to music, spending a lot of time with me and my baby brother, and giving us so many good memories, teaching me so many things, and just being such an amazing example as to how people should be treated. Taught me so much about the LGBTQ community, taking me to my first Pride Festival, taking me to my first concert, like real concert. He's always been there for me. We've always been there for each other. He's a huge mental health advocate. He's just such an amazing human. Strong, brave, definitely one of my biggest role models. Same with my baby brother. He and my oldest brother and my dad are probably those that I feel closest to in my family, and those that I admire the most because of the way that our relationships have been, the ways that they've been there for me. In the back, there was always music and art, a mirage that's played in my mind over and over my whole life. It's just always been back there in my mind. And for so long, so far back, and so just rooted into who I am and into my soul. I used to rap, used to write songs, and only ever considered hip hop and rap, and because I loved writing and I loved transmuting my pain and my experiences into words, into lyrics, into stories, and storytelling through songwriting. And I was pretty good at it, I want to say. But like I said, singing was such a vulnerable part of me that I wasn't ready to show or bring out yet. January of this year, 2025, I had the epiphany and I realized the dream. After an abrupt ending to a chapter I didn't see coming, rerouted where I thought I was going. Because, like I said before, a lot of years and a lot of times I watered myself down and watered down my true purpose because I wasn't super confident in being seen and perceived, and didn't think I wanted that, didn't want that for a long time until January. I think once something ends, you just rethink your whole life and look for a window. Just gained this fire, this motivation, this fire just lit inside my chest, and I was just like, you know what? I'm gonna do something with my life. I decided I'm gonna be who I need to become to make the wildest dream happen that I can think of. This new path that I was trailblazing, I looked towards music and expression as my only way out of how I was feeling. Around the time that I was pregnant, I began actually singing and using my singing voice and writing music, teaching myself how to do it, teaching myself how to produce, learning how I can do it in the cheapest way possible with what I have, with the resources I have. I was so tired of relying on somebody else, and I learned how to do it on my own. I downloaded apps on my phone. I looked at free beats online on YouTube, turned them into MP3 files that I downloaded, brought into an app, and played on repeat in my head until I had the words to write down. And I would turn my experiences, my pain, and everything that, would circle in my head into a song. And oftentimes, once I found that right song, that right track, the words would just flow and I could write a song in under an hour. I think largely like my pregnancy and healing a lot of myself, feeling confident, my true self softened me, and having my baby softened me in a lot of ways around that time. Every so often, I would write music and write a song and keep it to myself. Again, wasn't ready to be seen or perceived publicly with my son having been with me almost 24/7 since he was born, being a full-time stay-at-home mother and having car problems. Even with my diagnoses, I would self-medicate because of how difficult it was to find medications that worked for me, that made me feel better or made me feel anything. And it was such a trial and error. There were long stretches of time where I gave up and went back to self-medication. And eventually I did get my medical card, but I still used alcohol as a way to cope, as a way to be okay with my loneliness, my situation. I started going to therapy. I ended up finding a new therapist around my pregnancy. It really helped. I had my baby. I found a new therapist that really helped with postpartum, new change life, and I saw her for 2 years or longer, adjusting to the new life I was about to begin, and made me dedicate myself even more to really just like becoming stable, becoming mentally healthy, and feeling good. Part of my journey to mental stability, the decisions that I had to make this year, was to rehome 2 of my pets because I no longer could care for them the way that they needed. But a realization that I had was that if I want to take care of myself and my son, and if I'm going to be able to do that, I needed to simplify my life as much as possible. I was so overwhelmed, and the partner that I had adopted the dog that I had with it abruptly, and it wasn't a responsibility I was willing to take on by myself, or one that I was mentally able to financially. So I had to make the choice to rehome my dog and my cat, and thankfully there were situations that worked out perfectly. It could not have worked out better. The right situations and the right people and the right circumstances came. It was truly a blessing, and now I know that they're in homes that they truly can live their best life and be taken care of the way that they deserve. But that was a huge part of reaching mental stability and having a more stress-free life and simplifying my life as much as possible so that I could focus on myself, building a life that I can be proud of. I'm the only one in my entire family that says things exactly how I mean them. I don't sugarcoat it, and I began to treat people exactly how they treat me, and it doesn't really work out for a lot of people. It's hard for people that are so passive-aggressive and not used to handling their problems directly or discussing concerns direct to source. Some people would rather make subtle remarks or mumble under their breath, lie in public, instead of saying exactly what they mean to your face. And I can say with 100% certainty that I am 100% authentic, and I will always say exactly what I fucking mean. Like, I'm not gonna no, like I'm gonna say exactly what I mean every fucking time. That has put a strain on a lot of relationships with a lot of people. It's something that I think is a problem just where I'm from, town that I grew up in. It's very common in the religious aspect of this area too. Like a lot of these people are passive aggressive. Neurodivergent people versus neurotypical people can go one of two ways, and I think it's where I'm from. This is where I was supposed to have all of my character development, where I was supposed to grow and go through all the hardship and learn all the fucking lessons and prepare, but it's never supposed to be where I'm supposed to thrive and be successful, fulfill my goals and dreams, be my happiest self. And I truly believe that. I truly believe that the chosen ones will understand. The chosen ones know that not only do you have a feeling your whole life that you're special, but you've gone the majority of your life being tested over and over and over, trial after trial. I know it's all for a reason. I've only come to terms with that this year. The saying that you become who your little self needed when they were younger. I've become the person I would have needed to protect me when I was younger. I want to prove to anyone and everyone and myself, I can do it alone. That I don't need you. I don't need anyone. What got me through that was songwriting and being vulnerable, because I knew I had to feel the emotions and not numb myself. I knew it had to change if I wanted anything to change. And so I was so motivated, and that fire was lit, and I was like, this is it. And the songs that I wrote and sang that got me through those hard times and helped me heal pain that I was feeling, and the pain that had been buried really changed the game for me and made me fall in love with being alone, falling in love with my own company, realizing how special I am, how much of a privilege it is to be in my life, made me realize my true worth and cut out any insecurities that were left over, any fear of perception or judgment that I had sitting inside of me still. I was able to address all of those things. I was able to face every shadow because I wanted to be the strongest version of myself. I wanted to come out on the other side triumphantly. I even saw a psychiatrist for a while on top of seeing a therapist, and finally figured out what medications do work for me. After all that trial and error, what's gonna help me balance everything going on in here, make me feel normal and silence my racing thoughts, my anxiety, and help me focus. My life has just completely shifted since then.
But I can't come home right now. Me and the boys are playing, and we just can't find the sound. Just a few more hours, and I'll be right on to you.
Realizing my dream opened many new doors, realizing my true purpose back to myself. It was like coming home to myself and remembering who I was before all of the chaos, before I covered it all up, before I let other people dictate and tell me who I was, re-met my true self and remembered my childhood, remembered things I had forgotten, and reinvesting every single penny I could make into this dream and into something that would lead to success, figuring out how to turn myself into a brand and how to show up publicly and be confident doing it. I was so committed to doing everything I can to prepare. When it comes to changing my name, I chose the name Rose as my new last name, the new last name for me and my son, because I've always wanted to branch off of my family's name and start my own legacy. And for a while I thought I needed a partner to do that, but instead I just decided I was going to do that on my own and create one with as much meaning as I could. And I used my family name Rogers and ran it through a system that gave me lots of different words using those same letters, and Rose was one of them, and it instantly caught my eye because roses have always been significant for my mother, and my dad always gave her red roses. Their thing was Beauty and the Beast. It had meaning for both my dad and my mom, so it was really taking a branch off an old tree. It was so special and so exciting to me, our own family name, and create our own legacy. start fresh and start new, and in a way kill off every old version of me that there was attached to Tia Marie Rogers, like the Tia that went to jail, the Tia that went through so much hardship. I wanted to leave all of the past in the past and create this whole new chapter and start fresh. I also knew that I needed to journal about how I want to show up on social media, how I want to see myself in the mirror every day, what I want to look like, what my signature look is. I want it to be authentic to myself, I want it to be original, figure out for myself what I want to look like. Who do I want to be? How do I want to present myself? What do I wear? How do I do my makeup? That was something that I needed to figure out because that's important in how you show up and important to my confidence. And because of living in survival mode for so long postpartum, that was something I really struggled with, getting ready in the morning, getting ready at all. Being in survival mode was a lot of time, one shower a week, never doing my makeup, hair in a bun 24/7. I, for so long, tried to become the person who I thought other people wanted me to be and how I thought they wanted me to appear or show up for them. And I would go above and beyond and go overboard and give so much to people who had nothing to give in return. I was just trying to take care of other people and avoid taking care of myself. I decided that I always want to have my nails and my toes done. Decided that I always want to feel good and look good. I always want to have my lashes done. Just certain things that I had to figure out for myself, how I want to appear, not only publicly, but for myself, and like how I look in the mirror every day. And that helped a lot with my confidence. So only this year did I really see my worth, identify with myself, just see my worth. I really truly didn't. Other people did for a very long time. Looking back, only this year did I realize, oh, I'm realizing a lot now. This friend needs to go because I'm just now realizing they were never a good friend to me. And people would oftentimes see my worth before I did. And I see that in how I was bullied growing up. I see that in the way that I've been judged and mistreated and made fun of or projected on. And for instance, the boy, I should say, that I was dating over time was, especially his twin sister, was constantly giving me dirty looks and ended up accusing me of cheating. Couldn't fathom somebody accusing me of such a thing. And they were for certain that I cheated. And I now realize they saw my worth before I did. That was truly, like, I've always been a genuine human being, but other people think, oh, she doesn't look like she's been through anything, or oh, she doesn't look like she's struggling. They just like treated me like I'm not genuine or assumed automatically that I'm a certain way. Now I realize, like, when they saw us together, even people outside of his family, my family and friends were like, why are you with him? Like, you guys don't look right together. Not even just physically, but like energy wise. People saw in me, the light in me, and what I'm capable of, the potential in me, way before I figured that out. But I truly believe it had to happen to prepare me for a life like this, because now I'm untouchable and nobody can tell me shit about myself. Anyways, people really saw my worth and my potential before I did. My old best friend that was constantly tearing me down and secretly hating me, and I always made excuses because I just wanted to keep a friend. And that was another thing. I was always accused of ruining all my friendships because I could never keep a friend. I could never keep a regular job because I wasn't meant for that shit. And because people saw the potential in me before they did, and everybody always saw me as competition while I was actually being insecure and not even being true to myself yet. I was so quick to cut off the outside world and create a new reality for myself, renewing my place in this world as soon as I isolated myself. After all I've been through, I've truly made it through the darkest of times. I've always uncovered the darkness in others. If there's a shadow, I bring it to light. I see, I'm a mirror to other people, and that's a huge reason why my energy is so sacred and I'm so special. And I realize that now, and I realize how many situations I wasn't supposed to be in, or how many people were wrong for me because of this. I had to choose myself for once after so many years of wanting somebody to choose me and treat me right finally. After finally figuring out my purpose too and everything, and realizing the whole life has been preparing me. It's like divinely orchestrated type shit. I found my way back to my spirituality and my intuition. I found my way back to my higher self and created a newfound relationship with God. I was always supposed to go through hardship I'm not meant for something regular, like a 9 to 5. I'm not meant for that. I never understood why I couldn't keep a job or why I couldn't keep a friend. It just all clicked this year. And I realized that it's me that has to choose me. I'm the one that has to give myself everything that I want because nobody's going to do it for me. I had to realize nobody's coming to save me. I have to save myself, and I have to figure out how to do that. All along, I was never supposed to fit in with the crowd. I was supposed to be on the stage.
Put your head on my shoulder, hold me in your arms, baby. Squeeze me oh so tight.
I'm truly a student of life and always have been someone that wants to learn through experience and learns best through experience. And even though it's taken me a little longer to learn certain things, not only have I, but I've learned a lot of things. I've never once let something make me more bitter, but I realize that I've really been trained my whole life for this, and it's truly strengthened my relationship with God and increased my confidence in a lot of ways, because now I love who I am and love my story. I love my experiences because every single one of them aided me in some way and helped me learn a lesson I never would have learned otherwise. And I know now that it's my winning season. I felt this huge karmic cycle close in January, and it just felt like this huge shift, like, oh, the darkness is over. Like, this is a brand new beginning. I'm so grateful for where I am now and the life that I'm building now and the community that I'm growing now, and love every step of it. And it's so important because I've been trained my whole life, and because of everything that I've been through, and because art and music has always been the core of who I am, I know that this is for me, and I love doing it regardless of how long it takes, regardless of how many likes, views, or follows I have right now or whatever. It really doesn't bother me. Literally, the least insecure person I know now, it all had to happen that way for me to do this. I'm proud of myself. I finally realized that I have to be the one to show up for me and save me, and I'm proud of everything I've gone through. I'm proud of the life I'm building. I'm happy. I love this journey, every step of it, and I know that at the end of it, I'm going to be where I want to be, and I'm going to create the life I want to create, and I'm going to end up on the other side living the dream that I've always envisioned for myself, that's sitting up in here, that's been blessed upon me. I know that it's meant for me, and I'll work my way up to that no matter how long it takes. And another reason why I'm such a big candidate for this lifestyle, because nothing anybody says can affect me anymore. At this point, hate comments and negativity it just makes me laugh, and I know how to transmute it now. I know how to use it to become more powerful. I know how to use it to create music and just transmutation in general. But I'm untouchable now, and I realize in so many different scenarios from my past where I was being trained, going through something because I had to learn something that was going to lead me here today. The way that I've been called to be in hermit mode this entire year, and my situation has forced me to be in hermit mode this year, was for this reason as well. And having that realization, like, oh my God, it's because I'm supposed to build a career on my own for myself. I was never supposed to have a regular life like I was settling for last year, and realize I need to create the life for myself has always been in the very back of my head and in my dreams. That's my future. That's what I need to work toward. This hermit mode has been a portal and this in between state into the next stage of my life, into this next chapter, into this life I'm building. This is that in between state that I'm in. This hermit mode is preparation, like the last stage of preparation to launch me to my success and launch me to the life I've been dreaming of, like school and learning graphic design and learning how to design and learning how to create all kinds of things, learning all the Adobe programs, how to work a camera, how to take videos, how to edit, Photoshop, how to create a logo, how to just literally do anything and everything on my own, because I can. I can literally do everything on my own now. And that's another lesson that I've learned this year that God really wanted me to learn because of how long I was seeking outward validation, how long I was wanting something outside of myself to confirm things to me. One thing that I struggled with for a long time was being codependent on others, and in whether it was relationships or my parents, being way too comfortable with needing other people and being needy and not thinking I was capable of doing hard things, relying on other people for all different kinds of things, stability, financially and otherwise. Oftentimes I didn't think I could do it on my own, but it took going through being at rock bottom and being stripped of everything I had, not having any money whatsoever, being left like an abandoned puppy on the side of the road, to rethink my whole life and decide I am never going to be broke again. Even if I'm only making less than $1,000 a month for however much longer, I will never allow myself to rely on somebody else to be financially stable again. And I made that promise to myself, and I've kept that promise to myself. And that is something I'm super proud of, because it was something for so long I didn't think I was capable of. And especially the way that I was raised and in Utah, and the culture within the church especially, we're taught as women to be housewives, to stay at home and not have a life for ourselves. And that was something I also saw in my mother growing up. She never really had a set life for herself outside of her children. Just being from somewhere that was very normalized, it also doesn't work for a lot of people. I had to realize that, and I had to realize that I can't just sit here and wait around for someone to come and want to take care of us, because I feel like that was what I was doing, or I was actively seeking out a relationship and someone to help make my life easier, instead of sitting with myself and figuring out, how can I build a life for myself on my own? How can I get the things that I want for myself on my own? How can I become independent and stable? And I would not have it in any other way, because I haven't ran out of money. I haven't allowed myself to. That was something I wanted to commit to, and something I thought was important in my independence. Don't get me wrong, I've asked for help in other ways, and it's okay to ask for help, but it is something that I still struggle with sometimes, because I am somebody that wants to be fully self-sufficient and do everything on my own. I think it's really eye-opening and healing to have all these realizations and come home to yourself and realize who you're truly meant to be. And after so long of wanting to fit in and thinking that's what you needed to do, and also just being scared of standing out and not being confident in yourself, realizing all along you were supposed to step on the stage, all along you were being prepared to get on the stage, because you were never supposed to be a part of that crowd. That's why it never worked out for you. You wonder why all those things happen, but guess what? This is why. And I know that now, and it's just such a crazy reality to accept. And now I feel like I know myself better than I ever have, and love myself more than I ever have, accepted myself fully, and am the most confident I've ever been. I still am scared of some of the things I want to accomplish, and some of the dreams that I have are still slightly frightening to me, and I still get a little uncomfortable with the idea of being watched. But now I know, and now I'm confident enough to take risks that I may not be ready for, and take risks that are maybe a little bit bigger than me, a little bit outside of my comfort zone, because I'm done staying small. I'm done diminishing my light. I'm done not using my gifts. I want to help other people realize the things that I've realized. I want to help other people get through some of the things I've gone through and help them come out on the other side. I want to create music and release music that helps people realize, oh, I'm not alone, or oh, this made me not want to end my life today. This made me realize that, like, I need to go this direction in my life. And if it weren't for your song, that video that you made, I never would have realized this about my life. Like, that is who I want to be. And that is why I believe wholeheartedly that I went through all the 9 lives that I did, so that I could be a public figure and be somebody that can teach the world and teach my peers. And knowing that I've been trained and prepared for this my whole life has given me that purpose as well, because I, for so long, wanted to know my purpose. I was questioning what I was supposed to do in this lifetime for so long, but in the back of my head, I always knew I was meant for something bigger. I felt it in my name. I felt it with all of my talents and skills. Anything I tried for the first time, the creative world, I was good at. All of that was supposed to push me towards this path, because if other people can do it, I can do it. It just took me a while. It just took me the inner work and a little outer work, but I'm here. I truly believe that I was supposed to be stripped down this year, and it's the year of the snake. Hello. Shedding skin. I shed so much. So much has shifted. I truly believe that I was supposed to be stripped down to almost nothing for all of this to happen, for all of these realizations to occur, for me to rely on God, for me to rely on myself and only myself. Music and art being literally almost the only thing that brought me peace and joy was a huge part in realizing that it was my true purpose, because the things that I created during those times that I was able to transmute into music and into writing, and sit in my closet and record, write, sing, edit songs all on my own, and listening to them back and realizing, did I really just do that? Because it truly was a form of release and an outlet and expression for me, but also I'm great at it. I was amazing at it. I was shocked. I was surprised at myself with what I was capable of. And that is what made me realize it's my calling, it's my purpose. If I hadn't been stripped down to nothing, I never would have turned to it and realized this skill, this talent that's been sitting inside me for so long, that's been waiting to come out.
Summer came like cinnamon, so sweet. Little girls double dutch on the concrete. Maybe sometimes we've got it wrong, but it's alright.
Is finally coming out at the perfect time in my life, just like God intended, divinely orchestrated. That is my life. Every single event that has happened in my life was divinely orchestrated and trickled down and led me here. And between January and May, I wrote over 25 songs. I wrote and recorded a whole album. I used my graphic design skills and create a brand for myself, thumbnail covers. I'm able to edit everything myself. I have that creative eye so that I know what looks good. I know what I like, and I go based off of that. I don't care what anybody thinks anymore. So it's perfect because I love it, and I'm only doing it and putting things out that I enjoyed creating, that I love to do. Things that I want to see in the world, I create. Like, this is my life. This is my calling. This was always supposed to be it. This was the becoming of 𝐾𝐥𝐥 𝐏𝐿. This was the beginning of my legacy. I've expanded so much as well, and as I'm slowly building my community, I'm realizing how supportive and loving complete strangers can be compared to people you've known for a long time. Knowing that I'm doing what I love and what I'm supposed to do is enough for me, and it's just a matter of time at this point. And I'm just enjoying the time that I have here right now while it's quiet, the calm before the storm, because I know my life is about to jump any day now. I'm just going to enjoy this while I can, because I know it's not going to last forever. I've already foreseen my future, my intuition, my dreams, my manifestations, and they're all real. I can see them vividly in my mind, and I know they're all coming true. And it's so crazy also, because for so long, not knowing what my purpose was, wanting to know what is it that I'm supposed to do, having that feeling that I'm meant for something big, I'm meant to do something, what is it? Finally knowing what that is, finally feeling like I know myself, I'm on the right path. The things that I have gone through, wondering why did I have to go through that? Why did this happen to me? And this year has truly made me find a reason for all those things. I'm so proud of how far I've come. I'm so excited, and I couldn't be happier. I've always been such an art and music freak. I have a tattoo gun, fashion, and I'm super into upcycling and designing and style. Literally any form of creation and art I do and want to do something with. I have over $5 million business ideas that I'm sitting on, and I'm never going to be the person that's forgotten. I'm going to be remembered long after I leave this earth, and I know that in my bones. I will still be here through my art, through what I leave behind, through the footprints I've left, through my music, because I know that shit will live on for eternity. And that just shows you how hard I've worked on my confidence, how much this is what I meant to do. This is my passion. This is what I love. I've been anointed. There is a divine plan for everybody, and it has to happen the way that it has to happen. I know that it had to happen for me that way. Now I can move forward with a clean slate putting my full trust in God and my full faith in my dreams and my visions and what I'm capable of. I'm taking every risk and utilizing everything in my space, what little resources I have, doing the most with them. Because I know that I can do it, and I know that the more I can do with little, imagine what I can do with more. The only person that you can change is yourself, and that is a hard lesson I had to learn, especially when it comes to your family or living in an environment that you can't yet get out of or you can't change. It was hard for so many years to not want to change everyone around me or not want to force my parents and certain people to see things my way and see what they're doing. It wasn't my job. My only job is to focus on me, change the way that I react to that, and stand strong on my own 2 feet. So we've been the Rose family about a year now. Our first year as the Rose family, and the legacy will continue growing and expand, and as I'm building a community as well. It's so special to me, and I'm so excited to move out of Utah and be where I want to end up and just be known for the person I am today and not have anything of the past holding those versions of me in their head. You know, it's just going to be this whole new clean slate, and it's really exciting. I can't wait to bring out all of my other ideas. So much that nobody would guess. I have so many tricks up my sleeve, so many ideas running around up here, and they're all going to come out eventually, and I'm really excited to do that and create my fucking empire, because there's a lot more coming. And I'm 𝐾𝐥𝐥, and this is my life, this is my story, and it's only up from here.